Welcome everyone to the 2015 Sylvania 300 at New Hampshire Motor Speedway race review, where I recap what went on before the race, during the race, and after the race. So, overall, thoughts on this race. I thought that it was a pretty solid race. I don't think it was my favorite out of New Hampshire. I think last season's race in New Hampshire was, in my opinion, better. But to me, this race, I think, definitely tops the race we had July a couple months ago. By a long shot, in my opinion. And I think that's simply because, once the chase starts, the intensity increases. But other than that, I thought that, simply, there was indeed a lot of domination by Kevin Hart today. And let's say it wasn't Kevin Harvick. I think someone else was probably going to dominate. I mean, Kenseth and Hamlin were very strong in that second half of the race, but to me, there were also a couple of other contenders that I don't know if they could have won, but finished top 5, but did not get top 5 finishes. And there were also some drivers that early in the race were not very good, but with helpful strategy, they were actually able to get some pretty good finishes. Most notably, Greg Biffle. And with that, he actually gets his his third top 5. But overall, thoughts about drivers and the chase, etc., that's all going to have to wait. So now let's get into what went on before the race. Well, actually, never mind. Let's actually put that on hold, because also one thing about this race, and this is sort of becoming a theme so far in the 2015 chase for the Sprint Cup, tire failures. There were a lot more tire failures in this race compared to the race we had in July. And the thing is, in July and today, we have the same rules package. So I don't know if teams are just sort of experimenting with these tires or what. But to me, it was definitely strange to see at least 4 or 5, maybe even more than that tire failures compared to July, which might have only had 1. It was definitely, in my opinion, a little strange. It was sort of a little bit like the 2014 Auto Club 400, just on a smaller scale. But anyway, I might be forgetting something, but let's just move on to what went on before the race started. And I gotta say, there were a couple of big stories. And I think it was on Tuesday, maybe Monday. No penalties or fines for Kevin Harvick or Jimmy Johnson, who got into a physical altercation after the race last week at Chicagoland. And to me, I felt like that was the right thing to do, because I really feel to me, drivers shouldn't get punished for showing emotion and just sort of being themselves in the moment. I'm sure some people might look back. They might look back to past events. It made me think that it was sort of an inconsistent call. But overall, I think it was the right thing. It was the right thing to do. But anyway, I think one of the biggest story events that actually I don't think was actually discussed while watching the race or even the pre-race was sort of the basically a drivers' council was actually held either on Friday or Saturday. It might have been Friday, and just like the drivers' councils in on the Dover weekend and the 4th of July Daytona weekend. You had the drivers, you had NASCAR, you had Goodyear, you had the manufacturers, and probably several other people that I did not mention. And basically, this time, a lot of it was talking about finalizing the 2016 rules package. It is expected that the low downforce and softer tire combination or package that was used at Darlington a couple weeks ago, it's going to be used at the mile and a half. So mile and a half consists of 13 of the 36 races. So to me, I think that's good. I think the mile and a half races next season, if they do that, should be good. But however, the package for the short tracks and the bigger tracks, and when I say bigger tracks, I'm talking about Michigan and Auto Club. Those have not really been discussed a whole lot yet. And so to me, I think that's one of the important things about this just past drivers' council. Personally, I think. Or what I hope happens is to me, it's low downforce everywhere, with the exception of the Daytona Talladega, which already used a different package anyway, and that package I think works for them pretty well. But overall, in my opinion, there still has been some talk, and to me I think that this was last week or the week before about like NASCAR still interested in maybe using some track specific packages for maybe like the bigger tracks. But to me, honestly, like if we're gonna do that, let it not be anything similar to the high drag package, which to me failed miserably, or this year's rules package, which has not shown any improvement whatsoever compared to previous years. If it's anything like that, NASCAR dropped the ball, or NASCAR will drop the ball for 2016. 2016 has the makings of being a year for some great racing. And to me, at this point, I think what I've seen is to me most of the drivers and Goodyear, I'm sure, and sure definitely the fans who are well aware of this want to see the low downforce. If we do not go, in my opinion, it looks like the low downforce will happen in 2016. But in my opinion, if we don't go all the way, it was definitely a very big missed opportunity. Just my opinion. Also, and probably because this is the chase, this was the bigger story. Clint Bowyer received a P4 penalty, which a P4 penalty docked 25 points. Crew chief Billy Scott suspended for 3 races, and a whole bunch of other fines and other consequences. But those were some of the notables that came out of the fine. The team was already 6 points under the cutoff. The thing is, now this puts it at 31, and after the team's performance, they're definitely in a must-win situation. And overall, they did say an appeal because Michael Waltrip feels like that they did not make any mistakes. I think the reason why they were penalized so badly was because of some kind of legal adjustment that was like a big no to NASCAR. I think it had something to do with like the dashboard or something like that. I'm not very sure. You could probably look this up, but to me it was something like that, I believe. But overall, this really hurt the team, and to me, the appeal, it's going to be interesting. If they win the appeal, which I sort of have my doubts, they are 39 points behind. I doubt. I think it's because of how serious the penalty was. I doubt they're going to regain all their points. Because, for example, like back in March when Ryan Newman was penalized, that team got he lost 50 points. Not 50. He lost 75 points, but only gained back 25. So overall, it will just simply be interesting. This coming Tuesday. Also, some first-time starters: Ryan Preece, Preece, and BJ Biglioid, Mcleod. They made their first career starts. Ryan Preece driving for Hillman Scott Racing, which is their second car, I believe. It's sort of a teammate to Landon Castle. And BJ McClure, I think, drove the number 98, which actually, like, did he actually make the field? I actually do not. Yeah, he made the field. Drive was quadruple DNQ'd. But anyway, I just want to point that out there. But anyway, now on to the race weekend. Carl Edwards, fastest in the first practice. He won the pole, which now it will be looked back on as Carl Edwards sweeping the pole for both New Hampshire races. And what's kind of interesting is to me they both use the same sponsor, Sports Clip. And then Carl Edwards, he started off Saturday. Right where he left off on Friday, fastest in second practice, but it was Kevin Harvick in happy hour. Well, he won happy hour, and then moving on to Sunday, some at least 2 notable stories. Martin Truex Jr. renews his contract for Virtual Row Racing in 2016, which I'm sure by this point was pretty much expected. I mean, look at how well Martin Truex Jr. and Virtual Row Racing have. Look at the season those two are having. I believe it's a career best season for both Martin Truex Jr. and the team. But the thing is also there's this. They will be switching to Toyota this season, which would be the first time since the team was founded in 2005 that they will change manufacturers from Chevy to Toyota, and they will be getting a technical alliance, which I believe a technical alliance is probably like engines or and stuff like that with Joga's Racing. And to me, while the renewed contract was not unsurprising, I'm sure the manufacturer switch in the lines maybe took some people by surprise. Even though, and I'm sure some people are wondering if this is the right call, it could either work or it could not work. Who knows? I think simply I just kind of find it, in my opinion, a little bit strange that they would do this when the team is already having a career best season. I mean to me, for example, their other sort of teammate, Casey Mears, Jermaine Racing started out with Toyota, did not really see any improved results, switched to Ford, not really any improved results whatsoever, and then they switched to Chevy, and now Casey Mears is a little bit more competitive. But to me, I think those decisions were made because the thing is they wanted to get better performance and better support, and I think it's worked for Casey Mears. And Hampshire Racing, even though they're definitely having a successful year, I think the person who runs the team feels like that they're not getting the support from GM or now with Chevy, and thinks they can get a lot more support from Toyota. And overall, while it's not really good for Chevy, it is good for Toyota, and especially with Michael Waltrip Racing coming to an end after this season, this is definitely going to help Toyota, and it might actually help them field more competitive teams, because when I think about it, since 2007, which was Toyota's debut to the Sprint Cup Series, they did not have a successful year whatsoever in 2007. None of its teams, MWR, Bill Davis Racing, Rebel Racing, they did not win. The thing is, once Gibbs got on board, Toyota has definitely been a manufacturer that has been able to win. But the thing is, really, it almost stopped there. Michael Waltrip Racing, they did have good competitive years in won races in 2009, 2010, 2011, 2012. In 2013, in 2012 was their peak with Clint Boyer in contention to win the title with 3 career victories. But since then, that team has not been anywhere near competitive. And the thing is, they're falling, like I said earlier. And so overall, and the thing is, other than JGR and MWR, the only other team that fields Toyotas is BK Racing. And the thing is, unless it's a super speedway, that team and those drivers are going to be competitive whatsoever. They have not been competitive for years. Okay, fine, not for years, but ever since a team started in I believe around 2010, 2011. So overall, I think it's definitely going to help Toyota. But to me, it'll simply be interesting to see how their performance will be. And obviously, Richard Childress Racing, they're sort of in a way mediocre right now, mediocre equipment, but at the same time also mediocre drivers, in my opinion. And Toyota and Joga's Racing, they are on fire. And the thing is, they kept their fire running after this past race of New Hampshire. So who knows? It might be the right call, but the thing is, we will just have to see. But also the final story I have in the pre-race show. Jeff Gordon becomes NASCAR's new Ironman. 789 consecutive starts, beats and officially surpasses Ricky Rudd. And I gotta say, this is definitely one record that I think Jeff Gordon is going to be able to hold on for a long period of time, maybe forever. Because the thing is, when I think about it, that's a lot of starts and that's a lot of seasons. And the thing is, behind him, when it comes to active drivers, behind him is Matt Kenseth with 500, I believe 500 in 80 something starts, I believe. And overall, Matt Kenseth, I think he's like 44, and in my opinion, like that's sort of like for many drivers, sort of like like twilight age away. But to me, Matt Kenseth, I think Matt Kenseth, I remember reading like an an ESPN article saying like in order for Matt Kenseth to beat that, he would have to compete for at least like I think like 7 or 8 more seasons. Yeah, I doubt Matt Kenseth is going to go that long. If he could somehow pass Jeff Gordon, that would shock me. That would shock me. Behind Matt Kenseth is Jimmy Johnson, and the thing is, Johnson I think like more than 100 starts behind Matt Kenseth. And to me, I don't think Johnson's going to do it. Really, if anyone has a shot doing it right now, it's Logano. He started his Sprint Cup career in 2009, and the thing is, he was 19, or started. Or fine, he started his Sprint Cup. He started full time in the Sprint Cup series at age 18, and would eventually turn 19. And the thing is, Logano, in order for him to surpass that record, he would have to compete in over 15 more seasons, which to me, he's 25. And so to me, he'd be 40. And the thing is, obviously, there are a lot of drivers back then and today who are currently in their 40s and still race in NASCAR. So to me, I think if anyone has a shot as of right now, it's Logano, or who knows, Chase Elliott and Ryan Blaney. Chase Elliott, he's gained that full time. He's going to start racing full time next season, and I'm sure Ryan Blaney could join him either next year or the year after that. It just simply depends. And who knows? Maybe one of those two drivers can do it. But it just simply it's also going to be hard to beat because when you think about it. From the time Jeff Gordon started in 1992 to today, think about those cars in 1992. Think about the tracks. Think about the lots of safety, and also just simply think about like the think about the amount of days Jeff Gordon could have gone like really sick, or Jeff Gordon could have gone really injured. And actually in that case, because of that, I think it actually makes Jeff Gordon and Ricky Rudd the previous holder. I think it actually makes it feel maybe a little bit more actually respected, and especially because the thing is those are two drivers that really competed for so many years in a different era in NASCAR, or like I said, a lot less safety, etc. So overall, definitely a record Jeff Gordon he's definitely going to hold that record for a long time, and maybe even forever. It just simply depends. So anyways, that's pretty much all of the previous information. And now let's get on to the race. So we were agreeing at New Hampshire. Carl Edwards, he led the first, I think, like 23 laps, I believe. But the thing is, it was not easy for Carl Edwards. Kevin Harvick was on the mountain for most of those laps, and those two broke away from the field. Kevin Harvick was able to get by Edwards on lap 20, actually. And by this point, we started seeing Kurt Busch and Keselowski racing in front, and those two would have strong cars. And actually, just before Harvick cleared Edwards, the two of them actually made contact and actually caused a rear tire over Carl Edwards. But the thing is, the tire did not go down. So good news for Edwards. And if you remember last week, when Kevin Harvick and Jimmy Johnson made contact, that caused Harvick's left rear tire to go around. It caused his left rear tire to go flat, and he would eventually crash. But the thing is, like they said, like one difference between Edwards and Harvick is obviously like contact. It wasn't like as like Edwards and Harvick. The contact was not as aggressive. But also, like New Hampshire, like the way you race at New Hampshire, it has a different effect on the tires compared to Chicagoland. But anyway, so Harvick would keep the lead, and he would hold the lead for a long period of time. And in between all of that, caution number 1, Eric Almirola has a tire failure of some sort, hits the wall very hard in turns 1 and 2, and he actually admitted that it did hurt, and he would be out of the race. Some pit stops. And then after originally scheduling the restart for lap number 43, and actually it was held one lap of 44. Kevin Harvick breaks away from the field, but also the same for Keselowski and Kurt Busch. Carl Edwards was falling back. In the meantime, Johnson and Dale Earnhardt Jr. were starting to move up. There was also some, I think, also around the same time, there was also some strategy with Jeff Gordon that did not pay off whatsoever at the time. But anyway, second caution of the race, oil from Landon Cassill. So it turned out, so it ended up being a pretty lengthy caution. Restart lap number 53. And actually, this is where the restarts started getting a little bit more crazy as we started seeing a little bit more 3 and 4 wide action on these restarts. And even though like New Hampshire is not exactly like a short track, it's a 1 mile oval. The racing there is a little bit like a short track, because the thing is like, especially on the restarts, there's definitely quite a bit of beating and banging, and some of that beating and banging will eventually hurt Tony Stewart when it was first contact. It was first contact between him, Larson, and Newman, but then also later on him and Martin Truex Jr. made contact. It would cut Tony Stewart's left front tire. But the thing is, unlike Eric Almirola, he was actually able to keep the car out of the wall and thus be able to continue. Restart lap number 65, and this is where we saw the first of a couple times where Kyle Busch, he would start on the inside and he would really drive into turns 1 and 2 very deep and actually able to pick up a couple of spots. And then meanwhile Harvick was able to keep the lead, and then we had one of our longest green flag runs of the day. And by this point, most of the top 10 were all chasers. Like non-chasers weren't really as much of a factor in this race as maybe last week, where we had like Austin Dillon challenging for the lead early. I mean, at times the highest chaser was Larson, and then at other times the highest chaser was Casey Kane. At one point, Danica Patrick was actually the highest running chaser, hanging around like 10 through 15. But anyway, as Harvick continues to lead, one interesting thing I did write down, and this sort of describes the year Hendrick Motorsports is having. Johnson and Jr. ran 3rd and 4th. Meanwhile, their other two drivers, Gordon and Kane, were running like 14th and 15th. I know Gordon is having an off year, and I think as Casey Kane is probably the weakest Hendrick car on there. But to me, it's sort of the thing is, for an organization this successful and to have 4 drivers that have all had success at least at one point of their career, to sort of have like 2 drivers they're very good and the 2 drivers just not so good, it's a little bit like strange, And one interesting thing actually, like I think I heard earlier in the season from someone saying that like they divide the shop in two parts, and the first part has Junior and Johnson, and the other part has Gordon and Kane. I wonder if that's true, if that's having anything to do with it. Maybe Johnson and Junior and their crews and teams are doing something that Jeff Gordon and Casey Kane's crews and teams are not. But anyway, I think it's just worth pointing that out there. Anyway, 4th caution of the day came out a lap number 120. Alex Bowman smacks the wall, entering turn number 3. And actually, Alex Bowman had a pretty eventful day in July, where he first had a fire exiting the road and then smacked the wall pretty hard on the final lap. It's overall not a great season for Alex Bowman at New Hampshire. Pit stops, Kevin Harvick keeps the lead. And then actually around this time, it was confirmed that Kevin Harvick had led over 1,000 laps since his last victory at Phoenix. Restart lap 125. Jimmy Johnson getting shuffled back in, and around this time, this is where we started seeing both Kenseth and Denny Hamlin start climbing up through the field. But meanwhile, Kevin Harvick was still able to hold away. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was putting some pressure on Brad Keselowski for second, but wasn't able to complete the pass. And then also, this actually, in my opinion, like I picked it up when they talked about it on lap number 140. Ryan Newman, possible vibration from Ryan Newman on lap 13, but it seems like whatever issue they were having, they got fixed. But anyway, as Matt Kenseth and Daniel were moving up through the field around the midway point, lap 150, our fifth caution comes out. Kyle Busch, running inside the top 10, has his tire go down in turn number 3, and just like Alex Bowman hits the wall very hard, he would have to go behind the wall and stay there for around 40 laps. Definitely hurts his chances to advance to the next round and thus win the championship. And then we had some pit stops, and most notably, Casey Mears, he came out third, but the thing is, it was because he missed his pit. And overall, not like a whole lot of strategy in the first half of the race, but definitely the strategy picked up in the second half of the race, as we saw a lot more like two tires, 4 tires, some drivers staying out, others pitting. Carl Edwards, who came out behind Kevin Harvick in second, was penalized when the gas can crossed the white line in the pit stall, so thus he went to the back and really was not really able to recover for a good portion of the late stages. Restart level 165. Kevin Harvick is once again able to pull away. And the thing is, he would continue to do so up until level 192. 6 caution for debris in turns 3 and 4. Pit stops, and to me, this is where things started getting interesting. The leader coming off pit road was Matt Kenseth, and Kevin Harvick was going to restart in the, when I look at this, in the 4th position. So this would really be the first time all race long that Harvick would have to come back and fight his way through traffic. And also at the same time, Kyle Busch returns to the racetrack. Restart lap 197 as Matt Kenseth pulled away, as I expected him to. And behind him, I think it was either Hamlin or Keselowski runs. No, wait a second. It was Logano. I think it was Logano. No, wait a second. It was actually Junior running second, Johnson running third, until on lap 200, Johnson running third down the front stretch. He has a left front tire go down, and thus you have to pit, go one lap down, but eventually he would catch his lucky break, but his lucky break was not on lap 204 when the 7th caution came out for the race, and it was when Ryan Newman and Danica Patrick were side by side, Jeff Gordon just behind these two. Ryan Newman, I don't really know what happened. But all of a sudden, his car did not turn like he wanted to. Up into Patrick. Patrick backs it into the wall. Then all of a sudden, she goes back onto the racetrack, right in front of David Reagan, and David Reagan just clobbers her. Heavy damage on both cars, and there would be a 6-minute red flag. And one interesting thing is, to me, Danica Patrick thought it was Jeff Gordon who got into Newman, and then there were some people like David Reagan, for example, who thought that Patrick should have put on the brakes. So overall, some interesting opinions between a few drivers. But anyway, after the 6-minute red flag, this is where strategy got interesting. Some drivers chose to stay out. Who chose to stay out? Most notably, the Gibbs cars of Kenseth and Hamlin. The thing is, drivers like. But the thing is, some drivers towards the back, like Paul Menard, also pit, and Greg Biffle, who I'll mention later, also came out pit road. And eventually, restart lap 210. Dale Earnhardt could not get going, and Kevin Harvick restarted 4th, was all of a sudden 2nd. Harvick takes the lead 1 lap later on lap 211. The thing is, he would not hold it. He would not keep the lead for long. Caution number 8. Brett Moffitt spins off a turn number 2 and taps the inside wall down the back stretch. And to me, some decided to stay out. Kenseth, Hamlin, and several other drivers. Meanwhile, drivers like Harvick, Keselowski, and a bunch of others come down pit road. I believe drivers like Johnson, Jr., Kurt Busch, several others. And just before we had the restart, very interesting top 10. Kenseth, Hamlin, Tony Stewart, Jamie McMurray, Sam Horst Jr., Greg Biffle, Trevor Bayne, Justin Allgaier, all stayed out. Restart lap 215. At this point, there was already a whole lot of talk about fuel mileage. Who could save? Because the thing is, some of the drivers who just came out for road were right in their window. And meanwhile, Kenseth and Hamlin they were able to stay 1-2, and actually Denny Hamlin became the leader a couple laps after the restart on lap 219. And the thing is, Keselowski and Harvick, it took a while, but the thing is, they were able to get themselves up to the front. But the thing is, they were several seconds behind, and to me, by this point, I'm sure both of them were trying to save them fuel. Caution number 8, lap 238. Justin Allgaier has his tire go flat, running inside the top 10. It just maxed the wall in turns 3 and 4. And right here, we have pit stops. The drivers who did not hit the last time came up a road. So, for example, Kenseth, Hamlin, etc. And so the thing is, now the top 10 is Greg Biffle and Brad Keselowski, Harvick, Kurt Busch, Edwards, Sam Horst Jr., Dale Earnhardt Jr., Clint Bowyer, Jamie McMurray, and Denny Hamlin. That was the top 10. And then right here, the interesting restart. Restart lap 243. And the thing is, like, okay, so I'm going to give you sort of what I think happened. Biffle did not get a good restart, and he chose to restart on the high side. Keselowski chose to restart on the inside. And so the thing is, by the time they got to the restart box, Biffle could not get going, and Keselowski was able to pull ahead. He didn't pull away by that much though, because the thing is, Biffle was actually able to get by him off turn number 2, which I actually thought was pretty impressive. But the thing is, a couple laps later, Brad Keselowski gets penalized for jumping the restart. And overall, this would create some controversy when it comes to the sort of when it comes to the basically people are saying that many people are saying that NASCAR was very inconsistent when it comes to the call they made last week with Jeff Gordon. But to me, I think what some people, including the people up in the roof, thought is, to me, NASCAR made the right call. They actually enforced the rules. But to me, whether or not they penalize Keselowski, you're still going to have some people complaining. And to me, I think like the whole like inconsistency or the whole like, but wait a second, this happened last week. Like to me, like that, in my opinion, can only go on for so far. Like in my opinion, if NASCAR is going to be more consistent and actually like enforce and penalize these people, I think this race, and future races beyond this point, is a step in the right direction. If by next week someone does jump the restart and NASCAR doesn't penalize them, then yeah, they're definitely being inconsistent. The one of NASCAR's directors, Richard Buck, I think it was, says that they thought that they made the right call and thought that Keselowski jumped the restart. It just overall, once again, restart's a big issue, but to me, and it would really hurt Keselowski's chance at all of having any shot of winning. And to me, like I don't know if what would happen eventually later if Keselowski was going to win in the first place, but definitely kill his shot of having a great finish. He would have to pit, almost go a lap down, and then actually was able to actually make a pretty impressive comeback to get like a top 15 finish or almost a top 10 finish. But anyway, so with that, Kevin Harvick was able to grab the lead on lap 252. And he'll be able to keep it. Meanwhile, Denny and Matt Kenseth, they're right on the bumper. And the thing is, I think what Denny Hamlin and Matt Kenseth were doing is, to me, they were not racing Harvick to get by. They were not racing Harvick and trying to get by Harvick. They were basically racing Harvick to the point of where Harvick would have to race hard and not save fuel, because eventually it be said later that they did not. I think we're not going to make it. And so to me, I think simply like Hamlin, I don't think Hamlin and Kenseth were trying to get by Harvick, but simply like they were trying to make him run out of fuel, which in that case that was a smart strategy. And eventually, it would work off. But let's wait. After a while, Kenseth gets by Hamlin at around lap 275, and by this point Harvick already had over a half second lead, and that would continue for the next several laps until, with 2 laps to go, as I thought, when it came down to 10 laps to go, Harvick runs out of gas. He has to pit, and all of a sudden here comes back Kenseth. He takes the lead away, and to me, by this point, because Hamlin basically had to sort of conserve him. Because Hamlin had to sort of be conservative. Hamlin, I think Hamlin talked about maybe an issue, but it's basically Hamlin was just simply playing it safe and being conservative. And the thing is, he can actually be conservative. He can be conservative because the thing is, he won last week, so it does not really matter what Hamlin did this week or next week at Dover. But anyway, Kenseth gets by him, and then come to the white flag. A couple other drivers have run out of fuel. Dale Earnhardt Jr. and Kurt Busch, and both of those drivers were running inside the top 10. And then suddenly Matt Kenseth out to number 4 wins the race. Matt Kenseth, he actually breaks that streak of 11 different winners in 11 races, which I'm surprised was not talked about in the pre-race show, because to me, honestly, that was quite a streak. And Kevin Harvick could have made 12 winners. But anyway, Kenseth wins. Hamlin finishes second. I think third place was Logano. I might be wrong. Actually, I'll check. Yeah, Logano finished third. Greg Biffle, who actually pitted 6 laps. I think it was 6. I think it was like 6 or 8 laps before Harvick. Yeah, he was actually able to save enough fuel to actually finish 4th place. Edwards has a nice rebound, finishes 5th. Johnson 6th, Gordon 7th. So good rebounds for Johnson and Gordon. Truex finishes 8th. Casey Kane 9th. Definitely, I think that this is actually Casey Kane's first top 10 in. I think it's maybe his first top 10 maybe since Dover or maybe since Dover or Sonoma or something like that. It's been a long time since Casey Kane has ran and finished that well. Ryan Newman rounds off the top 10. Maybe a couple other notables. Ricky Stenhouse Jr. finished 13th. And because some other drivers had their struggles and ran out of fuel, McMurray and Menard were actually able to finish 14th and 15th. Trevor Bayne, first top, I believe that's his first top 20 in a while. Casey Mears also a solid finish for him, 18th, and Sam Horst Jr. Gets a top 20 as well. Kevin Harvick, after leading a total of 216 laps, Harvick was definitely very strong and had a winning car. He finished 21st. And to me, this definitely puts him in basically after this race, Harvick actually did not really gain any points, which entering the race he was 22 points behind. Now he's 23 points behind the cutoff line. And simply I know some people are going to blame the chase, but really in my opinion because I understand because I understand that the chase is going to be here for years to come, and obviously Harvick and that 14 know the rules. Really, in my opinion, they're responsible for where they end up in the points. Harvick and that 14. And the thing is, simply there was a whole lot of things that could have been done better, and really, in my opinion, were maybe at the end of the day the smart decisions. For example, last week at Chicagoland. When you have a serious tire rubber like that, you should pit. The thing is, they did not pit, and thing is even if Harvick would have only gotten a 20th place finish, 20th place is definitely a lot better than 42nd. And the thing is, this time around, when I think about it, Harvick didn't exactly need to win. And the thing is, there was some talk about, well, what Harvick shouldn't do is put himself in a position where he basically needs to win at Dover. Unfortunately, that's what they got themselves into. If Harvick would have just let Kenseth go by Hamlin and maybe do the same thing that Greg Biffle did, Harvick could have finished top 5 And when I think about like a 20th place finish and a top 5, that's, in my opinion, I think if those were his finishes, we would not be talking about Kevin Harvick on the brink of missing the first round, despite how well he's been. I know the chase. I know that I know that with the chase, it's not anywhere near the best way to crown champion. It's one of the few things I really don't like about the chase in general, regardless of whether it's this format or whether it's the format used back in 2004. And I would hate to see if Harvick missed the first round. Definitely, in my opinion, not a good thing for him, but also not really a good thing for NASCAR, for Harvick to have a season like this and then have and then not make the first round. But the thing is, like I said, I think it's simply like it's their responsibility, and simply they did not make the best decisions. I hate to say that, but to me, that's just simply my opinion. If you don't like it, then that's fine. But anyway, also Kyle Busch, he if the second round started next week, he would also miss the chase. And the thing is, Kyle Busch, there was some talk about, well, the thing is Kyle Busch going to be able to exceed during the chase? Because usually when the chase starts, most of the time they seem to fall off when they are in the chase. And definitely today did not show us that. And so the thing is, what are we looking at next week? Well, next week is Dover. Dover, it's definitely a track that I think both Kyle Busch and Kevin Harvick could win at. I mean, Kyle Busch, he was running very good back in May before him and Ryan Scott made contact and both of them crashing, and thus Kyle Busch got that finish. Harvick, I think, actually led the second most laps in May and finished second. I believe he finished second to Jimmy Johnson, and so Harvick, so he could definitely win Dover. But the thing is, can Harvick close the deal? Can the closer close the deal? That's gonna be the thing I wonder. And the thing is, obviously Dover, the Monster Mile, we've seen some pretty crazy things happen at Dover. The race one season ago, which was won by Jeff Gordon, it definitely was not anywhere near the most dramatic race. But to me, but this time around, with drivers like Harvick and Kyle Busch on the brink, it could be interesting. But honestly, like who's going to be eliminated or who could easily be eliminated? I think to me, unless something happens, Menard and Boyer are not going to make it. And I hate to say it, but I have this feeling that Harvick is not going to make it at all, despite the amazing season that they've had. If Harvick could make a Dover on points, but to me, he's going to have to hope that something bad happens to Harvick needs to finish ahead of Kyle Busch and Paul Menard in points. But to me, the thing is, can he pass Menard? Yeah, he can do that. Can he pass Kyle Busch? He kind of has to hope that Kyle Busch has a bad day, and he might also have to hope that maybe Dale Earnhardt Jr. and McMurray, maybe even Gordon, have bad days as well. Well, to me, it's NASCAR, and anything can happen. And just overall, things are going to be interesting. Yes. So overall, there's not really a whole lot to talk about. I might possibly make a video later regarding a big announcement that I actually just heard a couple of hours before this video was uploaded. But Dover is certainly going to be an interesting race. Who do I think is going to exceed well at Dover? Well, obviously JGR. They'll probably continue the domination, and if none of those four drivers win, they're definitely still going to be up front. At least a couple of those drivers. Dover, in a way, is sort of like a testament. It's sort of like a place where we see how well Johnson is. Because the thing is, Dover is statistically Johnson's best track. Back in May, he became one of, I think, 5 or 6 drivers, and definitely 5 or 6 elite drivers to win that track 10 times or more. And so to me, if Johnson has a great day at Dover, it's definitely going to be okay, yeah, this team is in championship form. But to me, if Johnson's a 10th place car or worse at Dover, then to me it's going to be oh my goodness, what happened to Jimmy Johnson? This team is off. So to me, overall, like I think Johnson, this could be the race. This could be like I think like when I look at the remaining races on the schedule, this could be the race where Hendrick Motorsports gets back to victory lane with Jimmy Johnson. But to me, at this point, if it's not Johnson, then it's probably going to be Kenseth or Hamlin. I mean, Kenseth, he's simply on fire. But overall, not my best race review. But to me, as of me recording this, it's late at night, and to me, I might as well bring it into this. Thank you all for watching. Be sure to rate, comment, subscribe, and bye.